Rain fell in a dull rhythm on the corrugated metal roof of Outpost 17, a forgotten checkpoint near the edge of Earth's neutral border zone. The outpost wasn't even manned properly anymore, just monitored remotely and staffed by a single human technician. Elias Ward, 34, formerly of Earth Fleet Engineering Corps, now reassigned after a court-martial that no one really talked about. Elias didn't mind the quiet. The fewer people, the fewer questions. He spent his days maintaining the ancient sensors and periodically checking the containment vaults beneath the station. Storage units for non-essential biological anomalies, a cold euphemism used by the Terran directive for alien detainees. That night, the power flickered. Elias sighed and pulled his jacket tighter before descending the stairs into the lower levels to check the backup generators. The corridor lights buzzed, and the further he walked, the more oppressive the silence became, until a faint, trembling sound reached his ears. A whimper. He froze. No one else was supposed to be here. No detainees were listed on the current manifest. Outpost 17 hadn't processed prisoners in months. But there it was again, a sharp, keening cry, high and warbling, echoing down the hall. He followed the sound, heart thudding, until he reached cell C9. Behind the energy bars, slumped in the far corner, was a creature like none Elias had ever seen in the field, though he recognized the species from briefing documents. Tall, skeletal, with dark, bark-like skin and a bioluminescent strip that once would have glowed down her spine. An Aelari. Rare, thought extinct after the last border war. She was barely conscious. Next to her, nestled in the folds of what remained of her tattered clothing, was a child, no more than 2 or 3 years old, still glowing faintly blue. The child was the one who had cried. Elias took a step back, his breath catching. This shouldn't have been possible. Aelari prisoners were supposed to be transferred immediately to designated refugee centers or labs. "How long?" he whispered. A flicker of light on the panel next to the cell caught his eye. The last recorded entry was 163 days ago. Someone had locked them in and left. He leaned against the wall, bile rising in his throat. He had heard rumors of ships vanishing, prisoners redirected, non-predatory life forms simply forgotten. But seeing it like this, the child cried again, reaching tiny, clawed fingers toward him. He looked into those glowing eyes and made his decision. Elias disabled the cell's shielding and entered slowly. The mother stirred, eyes fluttering open, a warning hiss slipping from her cracked lips. He knelt, palms up. "I won't hurt you," he said gently. I'm sorry." The woman didn't understand the words, but his tone softened her. She looked at her child, then at him, her breathing labored. Elias opened his pack and pulled out his emergency rations and water supply. "I don't know your name," he whispered, "but I won't let you die in here." Over the next 3 days, Elias did what no one else had. He gave them food, water, blankets. He bypassed internal cameras so HQ wouldn't see the unauthorized power usage. He even hacked into the outpost's logs to piece together how they got here. The record showed a transport ship, DR-9211, rerouted from the front lines. An Aelari female and her infant were marked as biological assets for research, but instead of going to a lab, they were dropped at Outpost 17, with no processing logs, no names, and no intentions of retrieval. Forgotten, disposable, and no one noticed, except Elias. The child, whom Elias began to call Saul, took to him quickly. Within days, the infant crawled to him each time he entered the room, climbing up his chest with surprising strength and nuzzling against his neck. The mother remained wary, but had stopped recoiling. She would even accept food from his hand now. "She trusts me so," Elias whispered one night, rocking the child while the woman slept. "That's dangerous for her, for both of you." He tried to contact higher command once. Just once. The response was chilling. TR 9211's contents are classified "Do not interfere. Do not transmit again." That was the message, followed by a 72-hour silence from Fleet Communications. By the 7th day, the mother, whom Elias now mentally named Lyra, after a moon in the Aelari star charts, could no longer stand. She was dying. Her wounds, neglected and untreated, had festered too long. Elias begged her to let him call for help, but she took his hand instead, placed it on the child's chest, and gave him a look so deeply sorrowful and fierce that he felt it tear through his ribs. Protect him. He held her hand as she faded. Sol didn't cry, not at first, but when her body went cold, he let out a sound Elias would never forget, a deep, soul-rattling wail that shook the metal walls. The lights in the room dimmed. The very air seemed to bend. Elias held the child close, whispering, "You're not alone. Not anymore." He buried Lyra in the forest beyond the outpost wall, under a flowering tree with bark the color of her skin. It wasn't Aelari soil, but it was better than a cage. Then he made preparations to run. Elias knew there was no coming back from this. Smuggling a classified alien infant off a Terran military installation was treason. But he had contacts, old debts owed, favors unspoken, and a stolen alien baby didn't feel like treason. It felt like penance. He wrapped Saul in thermal blankets and left behind a fake data trail showing an outpost fire. Then he activated an old recon drone and programmed it to loop maintenance footage for the next 72 hours. By the time Command realized anything was wrong, Elias and Sol were already light years away. 3 years passed. On a quiet moon in the Hadros sector, a mechanic named Elias operated a small fuel station with his son. No one asked questions about the boy's blue bioluminescence or his strange speech patterns. Out here, half the kids glowed. Sol grew fast. Aelari matured in bursts. He spoke 3 languages by age 4, could control ambient electricity by age 5, and asked Elias every day where his mother was. "She watches the stars with us," Elias always said, and they would sit on the porch staring at the constellations. One evening, a bounty ship landed. Elias didn't move when the black-armored woman stepped out. Her insignia marked her as a directive marshal. She scanned the fuel yard, then him. "You were Elias Ward." "I still am. You were court-martialed for conduct violations, and you are currently in possession of a Terran-classified biological asset." "I'm raising a child," he said evenly. She glanced to the door where Saul now stood watching. "You'll come with me, the boy too." Elias stepped in front of the child. "You'll take me, not him." "He's not yours." "It is now." There was a pause, longer than expected. The marshal looked at Saul again. Then she pulled a small device from her belt, tapped a command, and read from the screen. "TR 9211 officially declared lost in transit. No living cargo recorded on final logs. No legal claim remains." Her voice softened. "This is off record," she added. "I don't care what happened, but if I saw you, the wrong people will too. Take the boy. Go deeper." Elias nodded, breath tight. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," she said, already turning. "Just make sure he never ends up in a cage again." They left the moon that night. Years later, Tales would spread in outer systems about a human and his glowing sun, about how they ran from governments, bounty hunters, and warships, always one step ahead. Some said the boy could manipulate machines with a touch. Others said he could speak to stars. But one thing all the stories agreed on. When Soul was asked where he came from, he would always say, "I cried in the dark, and my father heard me.